October 8th, 1988. 10 limousines are carrying guests to a bachelor party. They're bankers, and they're on their way to a private club at the top of a building in Tampa, Florida. But as they ride up the elevator, it stops at a lower floor where they're greeted by federal agents. One of the world's most secretive banks is being exposed. Its conventional operations launder money and serves dictators. Its clandestine department operates an arms trade business and trades drugs and gold. Some accounts allege that its operations are enforced by a 1,500-employee black network who uses bribery, extortion, and even murder. Intelligence agencies have never shut it down because they work with the bank themselves. This is the story of the dirtiest bank in history. 1972, Agha Hassan Abedi, a Pakistani banker, quietly plots a revolution. He aims to create the world's first major third world international bank, free from Western control. Abedi came from a long line of civil servants to the grand rajas of the wealthy Mahmudabad kingdom until its fall in the mid-20th century. To many who knew him, Abedi's Mahmudabad background was key to understanding him. Friends close to him say that he attempted to recreate the glamour of the Mahmudabad empire at his bank, wielding power and ruling his financial empire like the Rajas of old. In 1946, Abedi begins as a 24-year-old trainee at the Habib Bank in Bombay. He quickly made his mark and developed a formidable network. Abedi's ability to make and use important friends was uncanny. Once, he slipped off his Rolex and gave it to an embarrassed client who received an expensive gift but didn't have one prepared in return. That client was the ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, who he turned to in 1972. Abedi asked the sheikh to back his new venture as repayment for past help on hunting trips to Pakistan. Zayed agrees, putting up millions in seed money. In September 1972, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International is registered in the safe haven of Luxembourg, known for its light oversight and banking secrecy. Swaleh Naqvi, a former colleague, becomes Abed's right-hand man. Together, they cultivate an aura of righteous mission to serve Islam and the Third World. Abedi sought out relatives of the richest and most powerful men of Pakistan and hired them, regardless of their competence. Abedi grew the bank's network aggressively. He'd donate generously to a politician's campaign. He'd quietly deliver a suitcase of cash to a country's financial regulator. During one negotiation with an Iranian partner, Abedi flew him to London and put him up in a palatial suite at the Hilton for days. When the Iranian partner's wife ran out of cash on a shopping spree, Abedi called the local branch manager to open the bank's vault so she could fill her bag with more money. He built relationships with leaders across multiple nations. Abedi even persuaded political leaders to deposit some of their national treasury funds. No bank rooted in the developing world had ever grown so fast and so global. But there was another reason why he was so driven to find new depositors. The Gokal shipping empire was one of the bank's most important clients. But in the late 1970s, slumping oil prices and shipping rates hit the company hard. But out of both loyalty and fear, Abedi attempted to bail out the business and help the Gokals make good on their outstanding debt. It didn't work. Contrary to standard banking practices that advises spreading a bank's loan exposure among many customers, BCCI had most of its eggs in the Gokal basket. Fully half of its outstanding loans in the late 1970s were to the Gulf Group, 705 million. The bank started coming up with creative schemes to hide its losses. It accepted deposits but did not record them on its books. When the customer demanded the money, the bank would shift it from somewhere else in a sort of internal Ponzi scheme. And Abedi became increasingly willing to seek out deposits wherever it could find them, regardless of their origin. Panama, early 1980s. General Manuel Noriega stands at the pinnacle of power, a stocky, stone-faced dictator running the country from military barracks. By day, Noriega is a valued US ally against communism. By night, he's a silent partner to Colombia's cocaine kings. Suitcases of cash flood into Panama, products from the Medellin cartel's booming drug trade. Noriega needs a place to stash these illicit millions, far from the reach of nosy regulators and political rivals. BCCI's officers make Noriega an enticing offer. Funnel your drug money through our accounts and we'll make it disappear. BCCI had set up a second company in the Cayman Islands to operate in parallel, ensuring that transactions and shareholders' identities could be kept secret from regulators and the public. They also circumvented laws by using frontmen and shell acquisitions. These legal maneuvers kept BCCI's name off the transactions. And so, tens of millions of his cocaine profits went through BCCI. Drug lord cash becomes a lucrative business. It wasn't just Noriega. The Medellin cartel's most feared kingpins, Pablo Escobar, his lieutenant Rodriguez Gacha, and several Ajwaa brothers, all reportedly funneled cocaine profits through the bank's maze of accounts. Some of the bank executives were wary of the drug money flowing through the accounts, but lately the bank was losing money on their investments. Pressed for funds, they bet their entire asset base. Over an 8-year trading nightmare, a reported $849 million was lost. With the bank's ability to operate in secrecy and its desperate need for funds, the Bank for the Third World became the Bank for the Underworld. Abedi actively aided smugglers, providing fake documentation and financing to move weapons between the US, the Middle East, and even the Communist bloc. In the Middle East, the notorious terrorist Abu Nidal used the bank to hide and move money for arms purchases and operations. Remarkably, even governments and intelligence agencies deposit funds in the bank. BCCI often traded information about its worst criminal clients to government agencies in exchange for leniency. Former officials have said they were threatened with financial ruin, injury, or death if they testified against the bank. Often, they've taken that risk. In the mid-1980s, in Tampa, Florida, a US customs agent named Robert Mazur adopts the alias Bob Musella, posing as a corrupt businessman with millions in drug cash to launder. He and his other agents tooled around South Florida in luxury cars, their aim to bring out the money launderers who assisted in the drug trade. It worked. BCCI bankers in Panama and Miami eagerly approached Mazur. They helped Mazur's fictitious cartel launder tens of millions of dollars in fake cocaine profits, moving the cash through branches from Panama to Luxembourg to London. The bankers, including Ajwaa, Noriega's personal money man, even teach Mazur how to move money through back-to-back loans and accounts in others' names. They'd also encourage Mazur to deposit more amounts when the auditors were looking more closely at the bank's financial condition. Finally, Mazur invites corrupt BCCI bankers and cartel associates to celebrate the fabricated marriage of Bob Musella. On October 8, 1988, Operation Sea Chase results in the arrest of 15 drug money launderers and bank officers. Abedi and Nakvi scramble to respond. They fear that the Tampa arrest will open a Pandora's box of investigations worldwide. They spend over $20 million hiring influential lawyers, political fixers, anyone who might make the US government back off. But it's too late. On June 24, 1991, Price Waterhouse submits the Sandstorm Report, confirming the worst. Bank of Credit and Commerce International is riddled with fraud top to bottom. Billions of dollars are missing or unaccounted for. Throughout the years, they falsified documents and opened bogus accounts, moving funds around to keep the auditors at bay. On July 5, 1991, regulators in 8 countries shut down core branches. The following days, Swal Nakvi is arrested in Abu Dhabi. The US and UK indict Abedi on numerous counts: fraud, money laundering, racketeering. But Pakistan refuses extradition, citing his frail health.
For years, while BCCI was laundering drug money and funding arms traffickers and terrorists, even assisting in the proliferation of nuclear weapons, The United States government was also banking at BCCI.
Abedi, once hailed as a financial prodigy, spent his final years quietly in Karachi, reportedly bedridden after strokes. He never stands trial.